Hey guys, welcome back to Playing on Footy YouTube channel. My name is Bailey. Today we're going to be looking at basically my wrapped up AFL fantasy season. This has been my first AFL season officially wrapped up. I learned a lot of things along the way, made a lot of mistakes, but that is the game of AFL fantasy. Today I am on AFL Fantasy Wrapped. And so yeah, we're going to go through and see my season overview, and then I'm going to give you about 10 things that I learned that maybe can help you next season. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I'll go down now. So my rank was 60,173, and I was in the top 35%. So there we have it. My best round rank was 44,396 in round 23, and that was helped by Lockie Whitfield at 115, and I scored a 2100 that round, which I think 2100 was literally the best score I ever did this season. So in hindsight, I scored 96.98% of my team's possible points. By captaining your top scorer and benching the right players, you would have an extra 1,348 points. All right, that would have come in handy for sure. I had 75 different players on my team. Wow, yeah, so I had a lot from Sydney in Gold Coast and Carlton, North, Brisbane Lions, GWS, West Coast, Port Adelaide. Yeah, wow, unbelievable. Yep, doesn't surprise me. Sydney and GWS were definitely obviously the top scorers, as well as Essendon and Brisbane. Yeah, I never traded Reedy, so he was my third ruck, and I'll give you some points on as to what I think I'm going to be doing next season, what I should obviously recommend you guys do as well. Heaney, yeah, I never got rid of him, even with his suspension, which again, that's another thing I learned. I'll talk to you guys about that later. And Brent Daniels, I mean, I think I got lucky towards the end of the season when he really popped off. Yeah, I had some bench warmers that added 0 points. So Devon Robinson, like El Reedy, Matt Roses, Brown, Bond, and Binns. Mid-season buy report card, A+. Okay, so my structure in round 12, 18, 13 was 25, 14 was 20, and 15 was 21. So, okay, I got A+ for that. Okay, interesting. Captains and vice captains. Not really sure what to make of that. Yeah, Lockie Whitfield obviously is the clear standout there. Tom Grant, I did captain him as well for round 18, and Max Gorn round 12, and Grundy for round 15. My lowest captain scores, which, yeah, I think next season I've got to put more thought into my captains, vice captains, but yeah, being my first season, I was still learning the ropes. Yep. So as I said to you, I struck lucky there with Brent Daniels 171. I mean, that was just absolutely amazing. Cherry in round 22, 168. Nick Dacos round 24, 157. Max Gorn round 11, 152. And Errol Goulden 151 in round 18. Yeah, traded Ollie Lord. I honestly thought he would be a good replacement for Charlie Dixon. That never really eventuated. Logan Morris, and then yeah, Ben King opening round or round one. Round one obviously is when AFL Fantasy actually kicked off, not opening round. But yeah, I got a 7 for Ben King, and then biggest mistake. I'll get to the things that I learned very shortly. Yep. So Tristan Sherry was obviously big sugar hit. Connor Rosie 147, and Nank Tank. Yeah, he was good. He was good to come in. I think I traded him in when. I think I kept Gorn, but I need another ruckman. So I put Jackson and Toby Nankervis as my main rucks, and they weren't too bad. Yeah, traded out Nick Blake in the end of the round he got a 141. Traded out Cherry. That was a big mistake looking back. I wish I kept him. Because I think I went with the sweet sort of idea, which again, another thing, just go with your gut, don't listen to other people and what they're suggesting. And Darcy Cameron round 4, 109. So there you go. Yeah, Dempsey was a massive. So was Darcy Wilson for me. Billy Dowling for generating cash. Matt Roberts. I mean, he did dip down because I got rid of him at around round 12 when he was sort of in and out of the side. But then, yeah, he came good towards the end of the season, which I had him in for a little bit, but then got rid of him. And then Logan Evans as well. Yeah, Jacob Wiedering learnt from that mistake. Chad Warner, I don't know why I went there as well. Big mistake. Jai Newcomb I had at the start of the season and then got rid of him after round 4 because he was just doing nothing for me at that point. And obviously that's when Hawthorn were losing. They lost the opening 5, I believe. And then Jaden Hunt, I just took a punt on him, but I couldn't have taken a worse sort of option there. And then Brodie Grundy, yeah, he sort of dropped off. Yeah, should have obviously moved to Cherry at that point, which I did inevitably. Overachievers. Jackson Binns was a good in. So was Nankervis for me. Harvey Johnston was okay. And then I jumped on Rosie just when he came back from that injury as well. So that was pretty good for me. James Jordan, again, I just had, but I kept him for a fair while. I think up until around 16 or 17. Probably a bit too long. Yeah, Nick Blakey was a bit of hit and miss at points throughout the season, but I still pursued with him. Lawson Humphreys, yeah, I traded him for Nick Blakey. Traded him out for Nick Blakey. And, yeah, worst decision ever. Got 31 that round, so terrible decision. Joe Richards, I probably hung on to him too long. Same with Darcy Cameron, actually, to be honest. And then Ben King, he came in and I got rid of him straight away. So that was my overall rank. So 60,173, total points 43,296, captain average 106. Didn't do any loopholes or anything like that. But yeah, my top captain's Whitfield, and then yeah, my defense sort of average is 81.6, midfield a 6.4, ruck 98.4, and forward 70.9. So yeah, let's get to the things that I actually learnt. Let's bring this up. So what I learned not to do for AFL Fantasy in 2025 was only pick 3 to 4 rookies with real potential growth on the bench. So I think from memory I had off the get-go I had like Ollie Dempsey. I think I had some other players that were sort of lower. I think they were lower priced. I think, you know, Ollie Dempsey comes to mind, Darcy Wilson. I can't remember, Matt Roses maybe, but he obviously didn't last long for me. Keep away from selecting key forwards. So I just gave the example of Ben King. He gave me a 7 in the opening round. That was just appalling. So don't make the same mistake I did if you're going to play AFL Fantasy for your first time. Select more defended mids as they have more scoring potential, and that was throughout the whole season. So, you know, one that springs to mind was obviously Nick Dacos, as well as I think at points Harry Sheezel was a defender mid. Nick Martin as well. Nick Martin was on fire at points. Lockie Whitfield was just a defender. He wasn't a defender mid, so he doesn't apply to him. But if you can get guys like that in your team, I think Ed Richards towards the back end of the year was doing that as well. If you can get guys like that in your team, you really can't go wrong, because then it gives you the flexibility to go mids and defense. But another thing that I would also say is, instead of selecting like I did Lockie Reedy as your third ruck, and who I never used, it was just a wasted space in my team, try and get a third ruck like Smith from the Lions for next season. Or if you've got a little bit more coin, you want to spend it on a third ruck, get Jackson potentially. He's probably your best ruck forward, obviously, for the money and for what you can actually get as a third option. Obviously next season a lot of people are going to probably be going, you know, Cherry to Marshall, and then potentially into Jackson as your third ruck option that you can then swing forward if need be. But yeah, that's just a little bit of a tip there. Make sure your bench has cash generative players. So you need players on your bench that are good if you need to sub them in if your main player has an injury. I probably didn't do that well enough this season, and I basically just relied on the fact that, you know, I'd put a 200 grand player on my field, and that's all the options I had. So you've got to give yourself a lot of options and cover all your bases, especially through the buy period. That buy period was so stressful. It basically, you've got to go in with a plan. I didn't go in with a plan at all this first season, but with this second season, I'm going to go in with a plan through the buys to then maximize my earning potential with the players that I have on the bench, because you got to understand that if you've got X amount of teams through that buy that are basically not going to be playing, and then you've got to basically source other players on your bench to cover for those players through those buys, so you're still maximizing your potential return. So that is a massive focus. Then you can get into the top 5% at least. So that'd be the main thing. Trade a player after 2 bad performance. Don't just trade them if they've given you sort of a subpar. Obviously, analyze the whole picture, but don't just get rid of them after one bad performance, because I did do that in hindsight. And then on the other extreme, I probably let things slide for too long, and basically I wasn't quick enough to analyze it, go, no, I need this player to go forward and do other stuff and reshuffle as well. So just take a note of that. Trade players if they have an injury. So 2 players that come to mind this season that I didn't act on quick enough, which again probably could have helped me fix a hole here and there. Salem, Gorn, and Heaney. I held them, and so yes, you can probably argue, oh, that's okay if it's for one game, but yeah, you probably want to turn things around pretty quickly. And so if something comes up and you need the cash generation to get a player, then just act on it straight away. Don't wait. Only select 2 players tops from the same team. Again, you want to get a player that can earn the most over another player in the same team, and you want to sort of spread it out as well. I made the massive mistake of selecting too many Sydney players and GWS players. That was my main mistake, as well as North players. I had like Zane Dersma, Chad, I think Lazaro as well. So don't make the same mistake as me, because you don't want to again, you don't want to just select pure forwards, as I'm going back to the Ben King thing, because I had Callum Brown from GWS, and he was just he had a couple of good games at the start of the season, but then after that he just fell down, and he wasn't even worth having as a backup forward. And then later I made the same mistake because I chose Ollie Lord as a backup forward, which again was just terrible forward thinking. But I thought there was a chance. And never think, just know. You got to look at the whole picture. And last but not least, put more thought onto your C and VC. Don't just go, oh, this player's doing okay. Go back, study what they're like against other players, what tags they're going to cop, all that sort of thing. Last but not least, if you want AFL Fantasy content, basically Ball Boys, AFL Fantasy is great on YouTube, as well as Fantasy Fanatics. You got Bales, DT on there. So yeah, don't go past those guys if you're wanting a bit more extra help. They definitely help me. But yeah, this is just what I learned. So yeah, comment down below, like and subscribe. What are you looking forward to for next season with AFL Fantasy? Are you playing AFL Fantasy? Comment down below. And yeah, would you like to get into it perhaps? Because I never really got into it until this year, and I must admit I've been missing a lot, and I quite enjoy it. I like the challenge, and I like analysing the players and who's going to do well. So yeah, bring on 2025. I'm definitely going to be learning from these mistakes and doing one better next year. All right, see you guys.